Carl Jung, what the last digit of your birth year says about your karma. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom. In today's video, we'll uncover what the last digit of your birth year reveals about your karmic path and the deeper spiritual patterns shaping your life. This isn't just a number. It's your soul's symbolic imprint, a key to the lessons your spirit chose to explore in this lifetime. Carl Jung taught us that the universe speaks through symbols, not sentences, and your birth year carries a powerful message. As you watch, reflect on how this karmic insight resonates with your journey. Has this truth shown up in your relationships, choices, or challenges? Comment below. This is the karma I was born to heal, if the message speaks to you. Let's grow together spiritually, consciously, and with purpose. Number 0, the womb of creation. What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. These words from Carl Jung serve as a powerful gateway into one of the most overlooked, yet deeply spiritual karmic signatures, the number 0, the final digit of your birth year. If you were born in a year ending in 0, this number doesn't just close a decade, it initiates something eternal. In many traditions, 0 is seen not as nothingness, but as the fertile void in the womb of creation itself. And if this number marks your karmic fingerprint, your soul came here to embody a profound spiritual mission, to remember, to rest, and to become a living anchor in a chaotic world. Unlike those who are here to chase, build, or fight, your path is one of stillness. But make no mistake, this stillness is not passivity. It is power. In a world addicted to speed and noise, you are here to master the forgotten art of sacred silence. Your spiritual awakening will not come through doing more. It will come through remembering more deeply. You are wired to sense the invisible patterns beneath events, to hold space for what others are too afraid to sit with, and to remind those around you that true strength often looks like stillness. Modern life tends to misunderstand people like you. In a culture obsessed with productivity, the urge to be still can feel like a flaw. But it's not a flaw, it's your wisdom. Your fatigue is not failure. It is your inner guidance telling you that you're trying to play a fast-paced game your soul never agreed to. The number 0 teaches us that the cycle must return to the beginning. And that beginning is always found in the quiet. The more you honor this inner rhythm, the ebb and flow, the breath between action, the more magnetic you become. People will start coming to you, not because you're loud, but because you're grounded. You are a mirror to their chaos and a calm to their storms. Your gift is your energy field, and your karma is learning to protect it. This means saying no more often, resting without guilt, and letting go of the need to explain your piece to anyone who hasn't earned a seat at your inner table. Carl Jung often spoke of the self as the totality of conscious and unconscious life, and those born under the karmic imprint of 0 are here to integrate both. You carry ancestral memories in your body, and your journey is less about climbing mountains and more about remembering rivers flow, rhythm, and return. In spiritual terms, your presence is a medicine. But in order to offer that medicine, you must first take it yourself. So ask yourself, when was the last time you honored your own need for emptiness? When did you last let yourself dissolve into a moment with no agenda, no outcome, no noise? The path of zero is not glamorous on the surface, but beneath that surface lies the power to hold the entire universe in a single breath. So if you've ever felt like you were born on the outside of society's race, like you never fit into the hustle culture, that's not a coincidence, it's a calling. Your karma is not about doing more. It's about becoming less so that more can move through you. And in this letting go, you awaken a deeper spiritual intelligence that most will never touch in their lifetime. If you're walking this path, know this: the world desperately needs people like you. People who can sit still while the world spins. People who can remember the ancient rhythm of the soul in a world that forgets itself every 5 seconds. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are a guardian of the gap. And that, in itself, is a sacred task. If you have a 0 at the end of your birth year, comment below the womb of creation. Number 1, individuation and initiation. They say the number 1 is the beginning of all things, but in Carl Jung's lens of spiritual growth, it holds a deeper calling. If you were born in a year ending in 1, your soul carries the karmic imprint of the pioneer. You're not here to fit in. You're here to stand out. You're not here to follow the herd. You're here to break free from generational patterns, outdated systems, and the expectations that have boxed in those who came before you. Number 1 symbolizes individuation and initiation. Jung used the term individuation to describe the process of becoming your true self, separate from the collective noise, free from inherited roles, and aligned with your inner truth. That journey is not always easy. In fact, it can feel like walking through a desert without a map. The path of the number 1 is often marked by moments of deep isolation, where no one seems to understand your vision or your voice. But here's the paradox. That very solitude is your sacred classroom. Your spiritual growth doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from becoming authentic. Think about the people who've changed the world in quiet, powerful ways. Think about the woman who leaves a high-paying job because her soul craves purpose over a paycheck. Or the man who chooses to raise his children with mindfulness and spiritual values, even if everyone around him mocks his softness. These are not loud revolutions. These are the quiet acts of rebellion that change everything. And if your karmic number is 1, you're being asked to lead by example, not by forcing others to follow, but by daring to live your truth so fully that it becomes a light for others to find their own. This doesn't mean your life will be easy. Many people born under this number struggle with loneliness, self-doubt, or a sense of not belonging. But let me ask you this. What if not belonging was never the problem, but the assignment? What if your solitude isn't a punishment, but preparation? In a world where conformity is celebrated and surface-level connection is mistaken for intimacy, being the one who walks their own spiritual path is both a challenge and a gift. Have you ever felt like the black sheep in your family? The one who questions things others blindly accept? The one who's always been searching for meaning in a world obsessed with noise? If so, your soul might be fulfilling its purpose. Because spirituality, in its truest form, isn't about floating away from life. It's about showing up fully, even when that means standing alone. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And number 1 energy is the embodiment of that privilege. It asks you to step into your own authority, to build your own foundation, and to trust that your path, even if it's different, is still sacred. So, if your birth year ends in 1, your mission is clear. Break away from what no longer serves your soul. Embrace the spiritual power of solitude and become the kind of leader who leads not through dominance, but through depth. Your life is your message. And the message of number 1 is this: true freedom begins when you stop asking for permission to be yourself. Are you ready to stop hiding and start honoring your journey? Because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs your original truth. If you have one at the end of your birth year, comment below individuation and initiation. Number 2, connection and boundaries. If the last digit of your birth year is the number 2, you've been born under the karmic imprint of deep emotional sensitivity and the sacred dance of connection. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." And for those carrying the spiritual wisdom of the number 2, this transformation through connection is not just a possibility. It is your life's curriculum. You are someone whose soul came into this life wired to feel, to sense, to mirror the inner worlds of others with remarkable depth. You may have often found yourself being the emotional anchor in relationships, the one who intuitively knows when someone else is upset, even if they don't say a word. But with that gift comes a sacred challenge. How do you remain deeply connected without losing yourself in the emotional tides of others? This is where the true karmic lesson of the number 2 reveals itself. Your journey is about learning to love without disappearing. It's about holding space for others while also honoring your own inner truth. Have you ever found yourself abandoning your own needs just to keep the peace or to avoid disapproval? Or have you noticed that you tend to take responsibility for other people's feelings, even when it drains your spirit? These patterns are not your flaws. They are clues to your karmic inheritance, pointing you toward the healing that wants to unfold in this lifetime. In the realm of spiritual wisdom, we understand that karma is not punishment. It's simply the energy that your soul chose to work with in order to evolve. And for you, dear listener, that energy is calling you to develop sacred boundaries. A boundary is not a wall. It's a bridge that allows you to stay connected while remaining rooted in your own energy. When you begin to establish emotional boundaries, not from fear, but from love, you step into the next level of your soul's evolution. You no longer feel guilty for needing space. You no longer feel shame for saying no. And most importantly, you stop confusing emotional sacrifice with love. Carl Jung also taught that the unconscious seeks expression in our outer life. So when your inner self feels neglected or suppressed, it will eventually show up in your relationships through conflict, codependency, or chronic exhaustion. This is why your path isn't just about emotional connection. It's also about emotional responsibility. How can you be there for someone else without betraying your own inner world? How can you stay present with someone's pain without making it your own? These questions aren't meant to be answered quickly. They are meant to be lived. They invite you to develop emotional maturity, energetic clarity, and spiritual resilience. When you finally learn to love from a place of wholeness rather than woundedness, your presence becomes magnetic, healing, and empowering. You become the mirror that reflects truth, not illusion. You become someone who teaches others how to connect by the way you honor your own boundaries. So let me ask you this. What would change in your life if you stopped seeing your sensitivity as a burden and started embracing it as your superpower? How might your relationships transform if you approach them not from self-abandonment, but from deep self-respect? Remember, the number 2 isn't here to isolate you. It's here to teach you that true connection always begins with the connection you have to yourself. And that, my friend, is the essence of spiritual wisdom through the lens of Carl Jung's teachings. If you have 2 at the end of your birth year, comment below connection and boundaries. Number 3, expression and creativity. Now let's consider something unexpected. If you were born in a year ending in the number 3, you carry a unique karmic imprint, one centered around expression and creativity. But this isn't just about being artistic in the conventional sense. This is about the spiritual responsibility to transform what's invisible, your feelings, your truths, your deepest emotions into something visible and alive in the world. Whether through spoken word, written reflections, or even the movement of your body, your karma is rooted in giving shape to the formless. And this isn't performance in the superficial sense. It's not about putting on a show to gain applause or approval. It's about authentic expression born from inner stillness. And let's be honest, how often in today's fast-paced, achievement-driven world do we, as men, sit in stillness long enough to even recognize what we truly feel, let alone express it? The truth is, many of us were conditioned to suppress our inner lives. We were taught to be strong, silent, and capable, but not vulnerable, not creative, and certainly not expressive in spiritual ways. That old programming still runs deep. And yet, if the last digit of your birth year is 3, your soul is asking you to break that pattern. This is your spiritual awakening. Not loud, not flashy, but profound. A call to stop hiding behind logic or success, and instead speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. To write, even if no one reads it. To move, even if no one's watching. To create, not for validation, but for liberation. Jung believed that the act of creation is a dialogue between the conscious and unconscious minds. When you express something deep and raw, you're not just sharing, it's a form of alchemy. You're transforming chaos into order, energy into matter, pain into poetry. And in doing so, you not only heal yourself, you invite others to do the same. But don't confuse this with talent. This isn't about being a good writer, or a skilled dancer, or a celebrated speaker. It's about being honest. It's about having the courage to stop editing your truth to make it more comfortable for the world. So ask yourself, where in your life are you performing instead of expressing? Where are you silencing your truth? Out of fear it won't be accepted? And what would happen if you gave yourself full permission to speak, create, and move from the soul instead of the ego? Your spiritual path, if your year ends in 3, is not passive. It's creative action. An action born not from impulse, but from depth. Because expression without stillness is just noise. But when it comes from grounded awareness, it becomes a transmission that carries resonance, meaning, and power. So as you navigate midlife, career changes, relationships, or even spiritual disillusionment, know this: your path is not to retreat or to remain silent. Your path is to shape your experience into something real through word, through movement, through presence. This is your karma, and it is sacred. And now, I'll leave you with this question. Are you brave enough to express your soul, even when the world prefers your silence? If that question lingers with you, then you're exactly where your awakening begins. Because your karma isn't just what happens to you, it's what you choose to create with what's been given. And if you've been given the number 3, then you've been given the gift of expression. Don't waste it. Speak from your scars, create from your chaos, and above all, live like your truth matters because it does. If you have 3 at the end of your birth year, comment below. Expression and creativity. Number 4, structure and stability. Let's talk about number 4, the number of structure, stability, and spiritual responsibility. If the last digit of your birth year is 4, it means your soul came into this life with a deep calling to build lasting foundations, both in the physical world and within yourself. This isn't just about constructing careers, homes, or routines. It's about creating a life with meaning, rooted in purpose and guided by clarity. People influenced by this number often show up as the dependable ones. You're the one others lean on, the one who shows up early, who has a plan, who gets things done. But while that strength can be your superpower, it can also become your spiritual test. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." And in your case, what you may resist is change flow, emotion, unpredictability, the very things that spiritual growth is made of. You see, structure is beautiful when it creates freedom, not when it becomes a cage. Think of the person who builds a successful career, a beautiful home, and a perfect schedule, but wakes up feeling trapped by the very things they created. That's the shadow of number 4. The soul lesson here isn't just about doing more or building stronger systems. It's about learning to stay rooted while still bending like a tree in the wind. One man I worked with, born in a year ending in 4, had spent decades building a business empire. He was admired, respected, and incredibly disciplined, but emotionally, he was walled off. His relationships suffered, his children felt distant, and eventually, his own body began to rebel through stress and burnout. His spiritual awakening didn't come from success. It came when he allowed himself to soften, when he traded control for connection and rigidity for presence. That's when he began to understand that true stability isn't about locking everything down. It's about trusting yourself to stand firm even when life moves around you. So let me ask you, where in your life have you confused safety with control? Where might your need for structure be keeping you from the flow of love, creativity, or change? And how would it feel to be just as grounded, but twice as open? The truth is, if your karmic fingerprint ends in 4, you're not just here to follow the rules. You're here to rewrite them with wisdom. You're being asked to merge discipline with flexibility, reason with intuition, action with presence. That's what real spiritual growth looks like. Not a perfect life, but a conscious one. In spirituality, structure becomes sacred only when it serves the soul, not the ego. So remember that your life isn't a blueprint to follow. It's a living temple that you're building day by day. And sometimes, the most powerful foundation you can lay is one that makes room for change. Let your reliability be your root, not your prison. Let your systems support your freedom, not suffocate it. And above all, let your spiritual growth be less about what you build and more about what you allow yourself to become. If you have 4, at the end of your birth year? Comment below. Structure and stability. Number 5. Transformation and liberation. If the last digit of your birth year is 5, then according to the spiritual wisdom rooted in Carl Jung's philosophy, your soul carries the vibration of transformation and liberation. This is not just a coincidence. It's a karmic signature, a spiritual imprint that reveals the deeper forces moving through your life. Carl Jung once said, "We are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become." And for you, that choice is a sacred invitation to grow, evolve, and radically shift the world around you. You're not someone who came here to blend in. You came to challenge the old, disrupt what no longer serves, and bring fresh vision into places that feel stagnant or outdated. You are a spiritual change agent, and your very presence often shakes people awake without you even trying. But here's where the wisdom deepens. Your karmic lesson isn't just about initiating change. It's about learning to do it with intention, purpose, and clarity. Change for the sake of drama or rebellion will only lead you into chaos. True liberation, the kind your soul longs for, comes from transformation rooted in awareness. You may find that you're often the one who questions the rules, who breaks free from tradition, or who refuses to accept the "this is how it's always been" narrative. That's not a flaw, it's a gift. But spiritual wisdom teaches that even the wildest fires need direction, or they'll burn everything down. So ask yourself, are you disrupting to evolve, or are you reacting to escape? Are you creating space for new life, or just tearing things apart because they feel too confining? These questions aren't meant to criticize. They're meant to awaken you to your own power. Because once you start channeling that energy of change towards something meaningful, you become unstoppable. You liberate not only yourself, but everyone you touch. It's like being a spiritual architect, breaking down old structures so something more conscious can take its place. In modern life, this might look like walking away from a career that doesn't align with your soul, even if others don't understand. It might be speaking truth in a family dynamic that's been silent for years. It might be healing generations of patterns simply by choosing not to repeat them. People may call you intense, impulsive, even rebellious, but deep down, they feel your fire. They sense that your energy isn't meant to destroy, but to rebuild. Carl Jung believed that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's exactly the work you're here to do. Become conscious of your need for change, and then use it to elevate your path. So if your birth year ends in 5, your soul chose the path of transformation, not by accident, but by divine design. The question is, how will you honor that calling? Will you allow yourself to become a conscious force of liberation, or will you resist your own evolution? You have the gift of fire. Will you burn bridges or light the way forward? Your answer is your karma, and your karma is your teacher. If you have 5 at the end of your birth year, comment below. Transformation and liberation. Number 6, devotion and sacred care. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And if the last digit of your birth year is a 6, then the spiritual wisdom behind your karma reveals something profound. You were born with the soul of a guardian, not a warrior in armor, but a protector of love, loyalty, and sacred care. In this lifetime, you carry a spiritual blueprint that is rooted in devotion. You likely find yourself being the one everyone turns to, the one who quietly holds the emotional weight of others, and the one who shows up no matter what. There's a strength in you that's not about control, but about presence, about being the rock, the steady force, the one who remembers birthdays, stays through storms, and makes others feel safe even when the world outside is falling apart. But there's a cost, isn't there? And that's where your karmic lesson lives. Because devotion without boundaries becomes depletion. Care without clarity becomes codependency. You might find that your greatest spiritual awakening comes not from giving more, but from knowing when to stop giving away pieces of yourself. The number 6 whispers to you that your deepest power doesn't lie in rescuing others, but in rescuing yourself from the belief that your worth is measured by how much you sacrifice. In today's world, especially for men between the ages of 30 and 65, this lesson is more relevant than ever. Many of you were raised to believe that being a provider meant never asking for help, that real strength meant silence, and that love meant giving until you had nothing left. But what if true strength meant being able to say no? What if the highest form of loyalty was to your own peace? The spiritual path of the 6 isn't just about holding others. It's about learning how to hold yourself with the same tenderness, how to draw a line without guilt, and how to love without losing your center. In relationships, in fatherhood, in brotherhood, in leadership, this karmic imprint calls you to show up with heart, but also with honesty. You are not here to carry everyone's burdens. You are here to walk beside them with presence, not pressure. So, how can you begin to shift? What would it look like to care without collapsing? To lead with love without losing your light? Your karma asks you not just to be strong, but to be whole. That is the essence of sacred care. Because devotion that comes from fullness heals, while devotion from depletion only repeats the cycle of self-erasure. And in the silence of your own soul, you already know this truth. The number 6 isn't just a digit. It's a reminder that spiritual growth isn't about doing more, but about remembering who you are when you're not trying to prove your worth. So today, ask yourself, where am I overgiving? And what would it mean to serve from overflow instead of obligation? That answer could be the key to your next spiritual awakening. If you have 6 at the end of your birth year, comment below. Devotion and sacred care. Number 7, inner wisdom and spiritual seeking. If the last digit of your birth year is 7, then you were born carrying the vibration of a seeker, a mystic, and a truth finder. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And that quote speaks directly to your soul. You're someone drawn to the mysteries of life, pulled by an invisible thread toward philosophy, psychology, spirituality, and the hidden realms most people overlook. You don't just want answers. You want meaning. But your path isn't just about understanding the universe. It's about returning from the depths of your inner world with insights that serve others. You carry spiritual gifts not for isolation, but for illumination. The real challenge for you is that in your quest for deeper truths, you may get lost in your thoughts, overthinking, detaching, or becoming so consumed by the inner world that you forget to connect with the outer one. You may feel misunderstood, or even out of place, especially when you're surrounded by conversations that seem shallow or disconnected from the essence of life. That loneliness, it's not a flaw, it's part of your training. Because when you're alone, you're tuning in. You're refining your intuition, your perception, and your spiritual wisdom. Think about this. How many times in your life have you known something before it happened? Or sensed what someone was feeling before they ever said a word? That's not a coincidence. That karmic memory echoes from past lives and spiritual assignments still unfolding in this one. And here's where your purpose comes alive. Your job isn't to escape the world. It's to walk through it with eyes wide open, guiding others through your lived example of inner peace, spiritual growth, and intuitive insight. A good friend of mine also spent 7 years reading ancient texts, meditating in silence, and traveling to sacred sites. But when he came back home, it wasn't the spiritual practices that impacted people. It was how he lived. Calm in chaos, wise without preaching, gentle but grounded. People felt something shift just being around him. That's the power of the 7 energy when it's fully integrated. So let me ask you this. What insights have you been keeping to yourself, waiting for the perfect moment to share? What wisdom have you gathered that could help someone else if you simply spoke it out loud? You don't need a stage or a spotlight. You just need the courage to live your truth out loud. Because the spiritual path of the 7 isn't about knowing more. It's about being more. Being present. Being real. Being the bridge between the spiritual and the human. Your spiritual growth doesn't end in meditation. It begins again when you bring your light back into relationships, into community, into the heart of everyday life. The truth you've been seeking isn't just out there in books or ideas. It's also in how you love, how you listen, and how you show up when it matters most. So the next time you feel called to withdraw, ask yourself, am I hiding or am I healing? And when you've healed enough to speak, remember, someone out there is waiting to hear the exact words only your journey can offer. That's your karma, your offering, and your opportunity to turn inner wisdom into living truth. If you have 7 at the end of your birth year, comment below. Inner wisdom and spiritual seeking. Number 8, power and mastery. Number 8, this isn't just a digit at the end of your birth year. It's a karmic signature that speaks to something deep within your spiritual blueprint. In the language of spiritual wisdom and the teachings of Carl Jung, symbols hold power because they point to patterns that shape your inner and outer life. The number 8 carries the karmic vibration of power, transformation, and legacy. If you were born in a year ending in 8, you are no stranger to intensity. You may have faced early struggles, situations that demanded maturity before your time, or experiences that forced you to step into leadership roles, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes out of survival. But here's where it gets profound. This number doesn't just mark the pain you've been through. It points to the potential you carry. Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." So I ask you, have you looked within lately? Have you taken time to reflect on the way life has shaped your relationship with power? People influenced by the energy of 8 often wrestle with control, sometimes feeling the urge to dominate, other times fearing their own strength. But spiritual awakening happens when you realize that true power doesn't force its presence. It's the quiet strength of someone who's been through the fire and has emerged not hardened, but forged. Carl Jung believed that the path to individuation, to becoming whole, involves integrating the shadow of the parts of yourself you've denied, hidden, or feared. And for you, the lesson is this: the pain you've endured was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to teach you how to lead from the soul, not from the ego. That's the deeper layer of karma tied to the number 8. The universe isn't punishing you. It's preparing you to create something lasting, to leave behind a legacy built on integrity, not intimidation. So here's the real question: how will you use this gift? Because yes, it is a gift, even if it arrived wrapped in hardship. Will you use your strength to build others up or to prove others wrong? Will you lead from your heart or hide behind control? What would it look like if you transformed your pain into purpose, your wounds into wisdom? You see, 8 is the number of infinity, of cycles, of rebirth, of regeneration. It's a number that teaches you mastery not through dominance, but through surrender to growth. And the beautiful thing is, the moment you choose to use your power consciously, everything changes. In a world that often confuses loudness with leadership, Carl Jung reminds us that spiritual wisdom is quiet, persistent, and deeply rooted in truth. If you've been feeling the weight of your past or the pressure to prove yourself, know that you're not here to repeat your karma. You're here to rise from it. If you have 8 at the end of your birth year, comment below: power and mastery. Number 9, completion and release. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." And when we look closely at the last digit of our birth year, especially if it's the number 9, we begin to unlock a profound spiritual calling that transcends the ordinary. For those born under the influence of the number 9, your soul carries the frequency of completion and release. You are not here to accumulate or to grasp. You are here to let go of the past, of ego, of illusions that no longer serve the soul's expansion. This isn't a weakness. This is your karmic strength. You are what many traditions call an old soul. Someone who has cycled through lifetimes of experience and is now in the sacred phase of returning wisdom to the world. You have been through enough endings to know that no ending is final unless we resist it. Like a spiritual guide walking beside those facing transition, whether the end of a job, a relationship, or even life itself, you carry a gift that so few understand. You know how to hold space for others to grieve, release, and transform. This doesn't mean your life has been easy. On the contrary, many with this karmic imprint have faced early losses, spiritual awakenings born through crisis, or a deep loneliness that often comes with seeing the truth others are not yet ready to face. And yet, you do not remain stuck. The number 9 energy always moves. Like autumn shedding its leaves, you have learned that release is not loss, but preparation for renewal. In today's world, where men are told to hold everything in, to fix rather than feel, to conquer rather than surrender, your spiritual role is radically needed. You are not here to fight for the old, but to clear space for the new. You are the man who teaches his sons how to cry without shame, who stands at a funeral, not just to mourn, but to honor the beauty of impermanence, who walks away from toxic environments, not out of defeat, but out of quiet dignity. In spiritual terms, Your journey is not about climbing the mountain. It's about knowing when to come down. And here's the paradox. You help others complete their journeys, yet you're always evolving within your own. What does it mean to be the one who lets go when the world praises those who cling? What power lies in being the one who finishes well rather than starts strong? These are the questions your soul came here to explore. So I ask you, have you been resisting an ending in your life that your spirit is asking you to honor? Have you been clinging to old versions of yourself, old identities, or old pain, afraid of what comes next? Remember, the number 9 is not a door closing. It's the space before the next one opens. And the more gracefully you release, the more fully you become who you were meant to be. So if you were born with this karmic number, know this. Your purpose isn't to build monuments, but to dismantle what's no longer sacred. Your power isn't in holding on, but in teaching others how to let go with grace. You are not broken for wanting solitude or silence or simplicity. In truth, your soul is just completing a longer journey than most. And that's something to honor, not hide. In the end, your legacy won't be in what you've kept, but in what you've released with open hands and a peaceful heart. That is the essence of spiritual awakening. That is the path of the number 9. If you have 9 at the end of your birth year, comment below completion and release. As we come to the end of this journey, remember, the last digit of your birth year isn't just a number. It's a doorway into deeper self-awareness. Carl Jung taught us that symbols carry the secrets of the soul. And today, you've uncovered how this small detail holds a karmic message meant to guide your growth. Let it be a mirror, not a cage. Let it remind you of your power to consciously evolve. So, what will you do with this insight? How will you dance with your karma instead of letting it lead? Share your reflections in the comments below. I'd love to hear how this resonates with your life. And if this message sparked something in you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing community here at Spiritual Wisdom. Your journey is just beginning. Carl Jung's unexpected advice for intuitive introverts, INFJs. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. These timeless words from Carl Jung remind us that the journey to personal growth doesn't begin in the world around us. It begins within. If you've ever felt like you see life through a deeper lens, sense emotions others can't explain, or feel called to a quiet purpose no one else seems to understand, this message might have been meant for you. Today, on Spiritual Wisdom, we're unveiling a powerful, hidden message Jung left behind, one that speaks directly to the soul of the INFJ. Are you ready to hear it? Let us know in the comments how this insight resonates with your journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes one message can awaken everything. 1. Embrace your INFJ nature as a gift, not a flaw. Carl Jung believed that introversion, sensitivity, and deep intuition weren't flaws to be fixed, but sacred qualities that few truly understood. To him, the INFJ personality wasn't just another label, it was a soul imprint. These rare individuals possess emotional depth and inner clarity that often separate them from the rest of the world. Not because they are broken, but because they are built differently. In a society that prioritizes speed over silence and noise over nuance, the INFJ's quiet strength can be mistaken for weakness. But Jung saw through that illusion. He knew that true power doesn't always roar sometimes. It whispers from the soul. What sets INFJs apart is not their desire to be seen, but their deep need to see. They move through life with a sense of purpose that doesn't rely on external validation. Their focus isn't on impressing the world, but on understanding it beneath the surface, beyond the masks. INFJs don't crave crowds or popularity. They seek meaning, truth, and connection at the soul level. They're not interested in small talk. They want to know what keeps you up at night, what dreams you've buried, and what pain you've never spoken. While others are swept away by trends and noise, INFJs remain anchored in a world within a world rich with insight, emotion, and intuitive knowing. Carl Jung considered this inward gaze a sign of individuation, the highest form of psychological and spiritual development. To individuate is to become whole, to live not according to the expectations of society, but in alignment with the truth of your own soul. INFJs, with their rare ability to feel deeply and intuit patterns others can't see, are uniquely positioned to walk this path. Their sensitivity, rather than being a burden, becomes a compass guiding them toward integrity, healing, and purpose. They are able to hold space for the complexity of others while honoring their own sacred solitude. In this way, the INFJ doesn't just observe humanity, they carry it, reflect it, and often transform it. Jung's hidden message to the INFJ soul is clear. Your pain, your depth, and your distance from the crowd are not accidents. They are indicators of a higher calling. You were not made to follow the world. You were made to feel what the world has forgotten. While many run from discomfort, INFJs are willing to sit with it, to listen, and to understand. This is a rare spiritual gift in a time when most seek distraction over depth. INFJs don't run from the shadows. They explore them, not just in others, but within themselves. And through that self-awareness, they bring light into places others fear to go. To be an INFJ is to live with an open heart in a guarded world. It is to carry the soul's wisdom in a time of noise, to speak truth through silence, and to lead not with force, but with presence. Carl Jung honored this path. He knew it wasn't easy, but he also knew it was necessary. Because in a world that often forgets what it means to feel, INFJs remind us what it means to be human. Have you ever embraced your INFJ nature as a gift rather than a flaw? If so, share how it's helped you grow in the comments below to inspire others. If not, simply comment, "I will embrace it," so we can walk this empowering journey together. 2. Trust and strengthen your intuition. Carl Jung believed that intuition is not a vague or mystical idea. It's a real, valid, and powerful way of understanding the world, especially for those who walk through life as INFJs. You don't just process facts, you sense truths. You pick up subtle cues others overlook, feel energy shifts in conversations, and recognize patterns in people long before they become obvious. The world might have told you to second-guess yourself, to lean on logic, to prove it, but the truth is, you already know. Your gut feelings, those quiet inner alarms or sudden bursts of clarity, aren't random. They're your soul speaking. Every time you listened and avoided that wrong relationship, every time you knew someone's pain before they said a word, every time you walked away from something that looked good but felt wrong, you were honoring a sacred function of your psyche. Jung taught that this intuitive faculty connects the conscious mind with something much deeper, a kind of personal radar tuned to meaning, symbolism, and soul alignment. But here's the thing. Intuition doesn't yell. It doesn't give you spreadsheets or evidence. It speaks in nudges, symbols, dreams, and an unshakable sense of knowing. And in today's world that prizes speed, data, and proof, learning to trust that inner guidance takes courage. It's like living with a compass no one else sees. Sometimes you know things you can't explain, like sensing someone is lying even when their words sound perfect, or feeling called toward a new direction that makes no logical sense, yet feels deeply right. This isn't guesswork. This is deep inner intelligence. But you must nourish it. Keep track of your intuitive hits. Journal them. Reflect on them. The more you pay attention, the clearer it becomes. You'll start to see that your intuition isn't something fleeting or soft. It's sharp, reliable, and incredibly wise. And when you begin to trust it, your life changes. You stop second guessing. You stop looking outward for answers you already hold within. You move with confidence, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that feels quiet and immovable. In a noisy, fast-moving world where most people are too distracted to hear themselves think, your ability to sense truth in silence is a rare gift. Don't apologize for it. Don't shrink it to fit in. Jung believed the intuitive soul often walks alone, ahead of their time, misunderstood, but their role is vital. You are not broken for feeling more, knowing deeper, or needing solitude to recharge. You're designed that way for a reason. Trust what pulls at your soul. Trust what feels right before it makes sense. Let your intuition be the compass that guides you not just occasionally, but always. Because the more you follow it, the more your life aligns with who you were truly meant to be. 3. Set boundaries to protect your emotional energy. Your empathy, while deeply spiritual and rare, can quietly drain the very essence of your being if not guarded with intention. INFJs, with their mystical sensitivity and profound emotional depth, often mistake their open hearts as unlimited wells of giving. But Carl Jung, whose work continues to illuminate the inner landscapes of such souls, warned of the quiet erosion that occurs when one constantly serves others at the expense of the self. He believed that individuation, the journey of becoming your true self, is impossible without healthy emotional boundaries. And for you, this is not just a psychological necessity. It's a sacred act of spiritual survival. When you give without limit, without pause, you blur the lines between compassion and self-sacrifice. And what begins as a noble desire to help can slowly become a pattern of energetic self-abandonment. Jung's insight reveals that when we take on more than our emotional structure can hold, we fracture from within. You begin to absorb pain that isn't yours, carry burdens that were never meant to be yours, and feel guilty for simply needing space. Yet setting boundaries isn't rejection. It's spiritual hygiene. It's how you protect the temple of your soul. When someone cries in your presence, you feel it in your bones. When someone's energy is off, your body knows before your mind does. This sensitivity is your gift, but it also requires protection. Otherwise, the world will siphon your light until you forget what it feels like to shine from within. A spiritual boundary is not a wall, it's a filter. It keeps your compassion alive without letting it consume you. And every time you say no from a place of truth, you say yes to your higher self. Imagine the emotional toll of constantly holding space for others, especially those who never hold space for you. it becomes a spiritual imbalance, a silent erosion of your vitality. Jung knew that the soul doesn't thrive in noise and chaos. It needs quiet, solitude, and distance to hear its own voice. Without that space, you risk becoming what the world needs instead of who you truly are. And isn't that the greatest tragedy for a soul like yours? To be everything to everyone and nothing to yourself? You don't have to explain your boundaries. You don't need to justify your silence. Spiritual people often feel the need to be available, open, endlessly understanding. But your light is not infinite if you never return to the source. Every strong soul must retreat to renew its power. There will be moments when you'll feel torn between being kind and being true, between keeping peace and protecting your energy. Choose yourself, not because you're selfish, but because you're sacred. Because the most spiritual thing you can do is honor your own well-being as deeply as you honor others. When Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely," he was also offering a hidden permission to be your own sanctuary, even if it means disappointing others. Not everyone deserves access to the most tender parts of your heart. You are not their healer. You are not their emotional sponge. You are a soul on a path of remembrance, and your energy is holy ground. Treat it as such. Comment below, "I protect my energy with love," if you're ready to honor your emotional well-being and set healthy boundaries. 4. Integrate the shadow for true self-awareness. Carl Jung believed that every man carries within him a shadow, those rejected aspects of the self that we push into the unconscious because they don't fit the image we want to present to the world. For INFJs, and especially for introspective men, the shadow often holds traits like anger, selfishness, assertiveness, or even a hunger for dominance. These are not inherently bad qualities, but ones we were taught to repress in order to be accepted, liked, or morally upright. But by doing so, we fracture the soul. The man who hides from his shadow becomes a prisoner of his own unconscious, repeating patterns he doesn't understand, living a life that feels misaligned without knowing why. Jung warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The truth is, the shadow holds the very power you've been searching for. It is the gateway to self-respect, clarity, and inner freedom. By facing what you fear in yourself, you stop being controlled by it. Anger becomes boundary setting. Selfishness becomes self-preservation. Assertiveness becomes leadership. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your mirror, and your untapped masculine essence. To integrate the shadow is to return to wholeness. And wholeness is what the soul truly craves. Not perfection, not performance, but alignment. Many men walk around with spiritual heaviness, mistaking emotional numbness for peace, when in fact, it is the disconnection from their own soul. They say yes when they want to say no. They silence themselves to avoid conflict. They smile while secretly boiling inside. And yet, there is a fire in them waiting to be acknowledged, not to burn the world down, but to light the path back home. Jung didn't offer a method of escape. He offered a mirror. The path of individuation, the journey of integrating all parts of the self, is not for the faint-hearted. It requires courage to look into the dark and not flinch, to meet your own rage, your lust, your pride, and instead of judging it, ask what wound it's guarding. Every suppressed emotion has a history, and every repressed instinct is a signal. Once you begin this spiritual work, you stop needing to prove your worth to the world because you have already met yourself. Your presence changes. Your voice grounds itself. Your eyes soften but see more. This is what happens when the soul is no longer split. You become magnetic not because you try, but because you finally remember who you are. And in remembering, you no longer betray yourself for love, success, or peace. You embody them instead. Subscribe to our channel and join a community of deep thinkers embracing their full, authentic selves. Here, we explore the hidden aspects of the soul through Jungian wisdom and spiritual insight. Remember, even your shadow holds the key to your light. 5. Cultivate expression and communication of your inner world. INFJs carry within them a world so rich, so intricate, that it often feels too sacred to put into words. You feel deeply, observe keenly, and grasp emotional truths others overlook. Yet when the moment comes to speak, to share, to reveal even a glimpse of that inner universe, something holds you back. It's not that the thoughts aren't there. It's that they feel too complex, too raw, too misunderstood. Carl Jung recognized this quiet conflict within sensitive souls like yours and offered a deeper insight. The journey toward wholeness demands expression. Individuation, as Jung taught, is not just about understanding your true self. It's about embodying it, making it visible and real. Your insights, your reflections, your emotional clarity are not meant to live in silence. They are meant to move through you into words, into art, into gestures and conversations that touch the lives around you. The longer you keep them hidden, the more you risk turning your gifts into burdens. Expression is not ego. It is soul alignment. Think of the woman who spends years writing in journals that no one ever reads. In the quiet of her home, she maps the emotions of everyone she encounters, feeling their sadness beneath the surface and their longing behind polite smiles. One day, almost without intention, she posts a few of her thoughts online. They're not polished, they're not perfect, but they are honest. And to her surprise, people start listening. They thank her for saying what they couldn't. Her private clarity becomes a shared light, not because she shouted, but because she dared to be seen. This is what Carl Jung meant when he spoke of awakening through inner truth. The soul doesn't want perfection, it wants expression. And when INFJs begin to express themselves, even in small ways, the impact ripples further than they can imagine. You don't have to be a writer or an artist to honor this message. Maybe your canvas is a journal. Maybe it's a quiet conversation with someone who needs your insight. Maybe it's a moment when you finally say what you've always held back. Whatever the form, what matters is that your inner world no longer stays trapped inside you. So many INFJs are afraid that their depth will be too much, or that their truth will go unheard. But silence is not protection, it's isolation. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And when you not only look inside, but also speak from that place, you awaken others. You become the mirror that helps people see their own truth. There is sacredness in your voice, not because it is loud, but because it is real. The message is not to perform or impress. It's to connect, to bridge the inner and the outer, to turn intuition into language and empathy into action. Your voice was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to heal, to reveal, to guide. This is the invitation Carl Jung left for you. Don't just understand your soul. Honor it by letting it speak. 6. Balance idealism with realism to avoid burnout. While INFJs are born visionaries, deeply attuned to the emotional undercurrents of the world, their spiritual insight often draws them toward idealism that can be both a light and a burden. Carl Jung, who had an intimate understanding of the psyche, offered a timeless message that speaks directly to your soul. If you want your vision to last, you must learn to balance your idealism with realism. You are someone who dreams of a better world, not just for yourself, but for humanity. You see how systems could be more compassionate, how people could connect more truthfully, how pain could be transformed into wisdom. You carry that vision not as an abstract fantasy, but as a sacred responsibility. But the danger lies in expecting the world to rise to your vision too quickly, or in trying to carry everyone's pain on your own fragile shoulders. When you give endlessly without grounding, when you pour your energy into spaces that cannot hold it, you begin to burn out. You feel the heaviness in your chest, the emotional fatigue, the quiet sense of failure that whispers, "Maybe I'm not doing enough." But that's a lie your spiritual self must confront. Jung understood this struggle well. He once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And that awakening includes recognizing your limits, your need for rest, and your right to protect your peace. To live authentically as an INFJ means embracing the paradox you are both the dreamer and the realist, the healer and the human, the light bearer and the one who must sometimes sit in the dark. Your ability to envision a more loving world is powerful, but that power must be paired with discernment. Not every wound is yours to heal. Not every person is ready to receive the love you offer. And that's okay. You're not failing when you step back. You're honoring your spiritual wisdom by choosing what sustains you rather than what drains you. The path forward is not to dim your light, but to direct it. It means asking yourself, where is my energy truly needed? What is mine to carry? It means knowing that burnout isn't noble. It's a sign that your energy has been misaligned with your soul's rhythm. You are not meant to sacrifice your well-being to keep others warm. Your dreams matter, but so does your body. Your empathy is sacred, but so are your boundaries. INFJs thrive when they allow their hearts to remain open, but no longer porous. When they learn to say no without guilt. When they let go of the need to fix everyone. When they give without abandoning themselves. That is where the real spiritual transformation begins, not in martyrdom, but in conscious, grounded love. When your idealism is refined through the lens of realism, your purpose becomes more than a dream, it becomes a legacy. You are here to build bridges, not burn out. And when you finally learn to protect your peace while holding space for others, you step fully into the spiritual mastery Jung always knew you were capable of. If this message resonates with your soul, repeat after me. I honor my dreams, but I walk with both feet on the ground. I trust that balance will guide me forward. 7. Trust the journey of individuation. Carl Jung's message to the INFJ man is not some abstract philosophical concept. It is a sacred invitation to awaken the hidden layers of your soul through the path of individuation. This journey is not about improvement, achievement, or success in the eyes of society. It's about stripping away the noise, the masks, the roles you've played for years, and arriving at something raw, real, and spiritually aligned. For INFJs, this journey cuts deeper than most, because your mind sees patterns where others see chaos. Your heart feels the pain others ignore, and your intuition speaks truths that can't be rationalized. Jung didn't tell you to become someone else. He called you to return to who you've always been beneath the conditioning, to let your soul lead, not your ego, and to honor the emotional depth you carry as a divine responsibility, not a flaw. To individuate is to come home to yourself. That means facing the shadows you've buried, embracing the contradictions that make you human, and allowing the tension between light and dark within you to teach you, not torment you. The INFJ man walks the tightrope between logic and feeling, reason and intuition, detachment and empathy, and Jung saw that as the formula for inner alchemy, not a curse. In a culture that still rewards performance over presence and detachment over depth, your ability to feel, intuit, and reflect is spiritual gold. You don't need to harden yourself to be powerful. Your softness, your insight, and your ability to see into people's souls is a strength this world desperately needs. But first, you must learn to see your own. Because until you trust the way your soul speaks through dreams, synchronicities, inner knowing, you will always doubt the very part of you designed to lead. The path of individuation is not linear, it's not glamorous, and it's not for the faint of heart. But it is real, it is sacred, and it is where your peace lives. The INFJ man is here to be a quiet revolutionary, not by shouting louder, but by living deeper. To stop hiding behind logic, and instead integrate it with intuition. To stop performing success, and instead embody truth. And to stop waiting for permission, and instead follow the inner compass your soul gave you long before the world ever taught you to doubt it. When you walk this path, you don't just heal your own wounds, you create a ripple effect that helps others find their way back to themselves too. That's the true spiritual wisdom Jung left behind, not in books or theories, but in the quiet courage it takes to be whole in a world that only values parts. To affirm your dedication to the path of individuation, declare your truth. Comment below, "I trust the journey," to honor your authentic self and inspire others to embrace their unique unfolding. And so, as we peel back the layers of Carl Jung's hidden message for INFJs, we're reminded that what makes you feel different might actually be what makes you extraordinary. Your depth, intuition, and quiet strength are not flaws. They're sacred traits meant to guide both yourself and others through this noisy world. If this message resonated with you, or sparked a new insight about yourself or someone you love, don't keep it to yourself, share it. And if you'd like to continue this journey of spiritual growth and self-discovery, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming insights. Until next time, honor your depth, embrace your uniqueness, and keep walking your sacred path.